Okay, time for a new video, and whether you are somebody new to my channel or you are returning to my channel to watch this video, it is greatly appreciated. As always, I'm filming this video in one go, therefore I apologise in advance if I stumble over my words going forwards, and indeed if the quality of this video is fairly poor as well. If there's any lag, anything like that at all, sadly it cannot be helped, and hopefully it is not too much of an issue for you. This is yet another Eurovision related video here on my channel, the first one for a while, and this video has been planned for some time. I think it's going to turn out quite similar to a video I filmed in the past, where I spoke about underrated entries over the past however many years in the Eurovision Song Contest. But anyway, I'm going to film this one regardless. What I've done is I've put together a list of 25 songs, and I'm not entirely sure what the title of this video is going to be yet as I'm recording it, but it's probably going to be something along the lines of the top 25 most shocking, surprising, underrated, outrageous non-qualifiers we've had since the semi-final format was introduced in the Eurovision Song Contest, which of course was way back in the Istanbul 2004 contest. So how I put together this top 25, and to be honest it's an interchangeable list, so I wouldn't take it too seriously at all, is I just went through all of the songs we've had since 2004 right up to this year, and specifically looked at the non-qualifiers, and I thought as neutrally as possible here. Absolutely. There are some songs in this top 25 that I'm not so keen on, but I know a lot of Eurovision fans really enjoy particular songs, and therefore I've included them. And then once I had a 25 that I was happy with, I took some songs out, moved them around, I listened to some of the songs again, I looked at the performances, and made up my mind as to whether I should be talking about it in this particular video. So, without further ado, I'm going to get started. Now, I am going to be clicking backwards and forwards here just to check out the actual results for these songs. Feel free to let me know your thoughts, of course. I'm very, very interested to know. And at the end of this video, I'll go through some of the songs that just missed out on this top 25. So, starting at number 25, remember that this is a sort of interchangeable list, so nothing is set in stone, of course. Number 25 is the Netherlands 2005. This is Glennis Grace with My Impossible Dream. This was the Kiev contest, the first time Ukraine hosted Eurovision, and the Netherlands was song 9 in the semi-final, which took place on the 19th of May that year. And My Impossible Dream was performed in English and finished 14th, joint 14th with Ireland on 53 points. And the high mark for the Netherlands was 12 from next door neighbours Belgium. Glennis Grace, I'm not going to talk too much about the musicians in question here, but she's actually had a very successful career. She's 43 from Amsterdam. She was on the 13th season of America's Got Talent and made it to the finals. And she's had a couple of albums and a couple of fairly successful singles as well. She was part, and I believe she might still be part, of Ladies of Soul, which is a Dutch supergroup, which also included Edcilia Romble, this year's co-host of Eurovision, and 2015 representative Trantje Oosterhuis. Now, the reason why this song is in the list is purely because at the time, well, first things first, I was quite young. 2005 is one of the first contests that I remember watching and paying attention to. But I didn't really have any concept of betting odds or national finals or anything like that. So what I'm talking about here is only stuff that I've read about in the past, I don't know, decade or so. But I know at the time this was expected to go through quite comfortably. It's a ballad. It's a rather grand ballad. Glennis, I think, must have been fairly young at the time. She was in this sort of slinky white dress, arms open, really belting this tune out. And if you look at the performance, really it just screams qualifier. At least at the time, it probably really would have come across that way. If you look at the performance now and you look at the songs that did go through instead of this one, maybe it's not such a surprise that it missed out. But I'm thinking in terms of, if I had been watching the semi-final, I didn't actually watch the 05 semi-final as it was broadcast, but if I had been watching the semi-final and the Netherlands was not announced as a qualifier, I would have thought, wow, That is surprising. And you have to say 2005 was the start of the downfall of the Dutch results in the contest. They were in the 04 final. In 05 didn't go through, wouldn't appear in a grand final again until Malta 2013. So with all of that being said, and I'm already starting to ramble, there's a surprise on this channel. The Netherlands 2005 is number 25 on the list of most surprising, shocking, underrated, outrageous non-qualifiers that we've ever had in the history of Eurovision. Moving on to number 24, and it's the first appearance of quite a few in this list for Switzerland. The year in question, 2018. This is Stones by Zibs. Now, they performed in the first semi-final in Lisbon a couple of years back. It was song number 17 on the night, and the song finished 13th with 86 points. Now, Zibs consists of Corinne and Stefan Gfelle. They're from Gisicon in Switzerland, and they've had 2 albums and a couple of singles as well. Now, the first semi-final in Lisbon is widely regarded, I think, as one of the toughest semi-finals we've ever had, if not the toughest. So it was always going to be difficult for a country like Switzerland, whose form over the years has been a little bit patchy, to get out of this very tough semi-final. As such, 86 points, quite a way away from Finland, who went through in 10th. If we take a look at the split results, Switzerland was a qualifier just in 10th place with the juries, but 15th with 27 points from the public. So it was the public who let Switzerland down in 2018. In terms of points, most countries gave Switzerland something, a high mark of 8 from Israel and Belgium in the jury vote, and then in the public vote, 8 from next door neighbours, Austria. Anyway, the Swiss performance in 2018 I think is absolutely terrific. I think it's actually one of the strongest performances, full stop, in that year's contest. Corinne looked absolutely fantastic. She was in this sort of tight black outfit, midriff exposed. The guy who was playing the drums, or pretending to play them, instruments aren't live of course, and there was a red colour scheme, lots of flashing lights. Corinne walked across the bridge and then along the sort of catwalk area. I thought it was absolutely fantastic, and I've watched the performance back many times as well. And with all of that being said, there was a place for this song in the final, absolutely. Had Switzerland been in the second semi-final, I think they probably would have gone through. But being in that first, very tough semi-final, it was always going to be a real challenge for them to go through, and sadly, they missed out. But it was the public who really let them down. So number 24 on the list, Stones, Switzerland 2018. Number 23 on the list is Malta, a country that has often been underrated in the past, and the year in question is 2015, which was the Vienna competition, and Warrior by Amber. Now, Amber had been on stage with Kurt Kalea in Baku in 2012 as a backing singer, but this time she was doing it all by herself. In the second semi-final, she missed out with 43 points and therefore finished 11th in Vienna. Now, this song for Malta, it's a really powerful number. There were flames, there was this orange and gold colour scheme. I can't quite remember what Amber was wearing, but a terrific singer. She did a really fantastic job. In the jury vote in the Maltese national final, 12, 12, 12, 12, 12, 60 points. She absolutely smashed the opposition. And then she also won the televote, got the maximum 12 points there, so 72 points overall. Bear in mind that the act in second place, Christabel, who would be at Eurovision in 2018, she had 47. So it was a very comfortable win for Amber. So coming into Eurovision in 2015, I think Malta felt pretty confident. And they didn't qualify, which still surprises me a little bit. Because again, like with Switzerland, as I just mentioned, in Lisbon, there was a place for this in the final. And I think a lot of Eurovision fans really don't mind this particular entry. Taking a look at the split results, of course, Malta did better with the juries in 5th place, 84 points, but the public had Amber on 32 points and 12th place. In terms of specific marks, in the... Oh yes, of course, this was before the new voting system was put in place. A high mark of 10 from Israel and Montenegro, of all places, for Amber. Don't really have too much else to say about this one, and I'm wary of this being a very long video, but number 28 on the list, number 23 on the list, apologies, is Amber Warrior Malta 2015. Moving on, a song that I'm not such a fan of. Never really been able to get into this one. If anything, I find it quite plain, although I can appreciate the vocals and the sort of classy nature of the performance. Black dress, glasses I believe, a sort of bluish colour scheme. Not that the colour scheme really matters much. And I think a lot of people really did expect this one to go through, and I've seen it in other videos in the past, people ranking non-qualifiers and what have you. Number 22 is Israel 2013. This is Rak Bishvilo by Moran Matzor. Let me take a look here. Israel was in the second semi-final of the 2013 edition in Malta, and Moran finished in 14th place out of 17 nations with 40 points. Rak Bishvilo translates as only for him. Yeah, really can't fault the vocals here. It was quite a static performance. Maybe that was one negative element of this particular entry. Moran is now 30 years of age, and I believe she's still performing and everything, which is great. If we take a look at the split results for Israel, 9th place with the jury, an average ranking of 7.95, 14th with the public, 10.67, and that's so interesting because I think at the time, and even more so now, Rak Bishvilo is a song that a lot of people do seem to rank highly when they're putting together their ranking of the 2013 entries. I've seen Israel quite high up on the list. Not for me personally, but for a lot of other people. And as I said at the start of this video, I'm thinking as neutrally as possible with regards to this top 25. In terms of specific marks, Moran's highest mark was 6 from Armenia and from Azerbaijan. Don't have much else to say about that particular entry, but I think it absolutely should have been in this top 25. Moving on to number 21, we stick with the very same semi-final in the very same year, and it's Switzerland again. This is Takasa with You and Me. Now, Takasa, made up of 6 Salvation Army soldiers, and I believe Emil Ramsauer, who was on stage with the double bass, I believe. He is 103 years old now. At least it says that right here. He's the oldest living participant in Eurovision's history. Anyway, You and Me, a rather plain song, it must be said. It's fairly up-tempo, but it never really gets out of about 3rd gear, if you see what I mean. Again, a very static performance. They were in the sort of Salvation Army uniforms. It needed just a little bit more gusto, a little bit more vigour, if you see what I mean. Anyway, 13th place, 41 points in terms of the split results. And this is perhaps why I've put this song in the top 25, because of the difference between the public and jury opinion. The juries really didn't like this, put Switzerland second last, but with the public, 5th place, with an average mark of 7. In terms of specific marks, 10, the highest from France. So yes, this was, at the time, maybe not expected to be a sure qualifier, but I think a lot of Eurovision fans, a lot of critics, did see Switzerland going through. And I remember, after the national final, which I think was in December of 2012 actually, a lot of people thought that Switzerland were onto something special, and in the end, they never even made the final. Moving on, we go to 2010 now for song number 20 on this list, and it's an act that were actually returning to Eurovision, but for a different country. In 2005, they represented Bosnia and did fairly well. In 2010, they were represented Croatia. It is Lako je sve, which I believe means everything is easy, performed in Croatian by Feminem. Now, Feminem consists of, well, it's an all-female group, and this song was expected to go through from the second semi-final in Oslo at the Telenor Arena that year. Instead, 13th place, 33 points. There was a sort of reddish-pink colour scheme. The girls were in dresses. It was all very dramatic, but it wasn't wildly over the top. This is a ballad. It's quite a powerful track. It builds up quite nicely. It's nothing truly amazing in my personal opinion. But still, there was a place for this in the final, and a lot of people thought Croatia were going to go through quite comfortably. Instead, not to be. In the split results, Croatia didn't fare terribly well at all. 12th with the jury, 14th with the public, and a high mark of 12 from Slovenia, I believe. Yes, not much else to say, really. Lako Yesve, as I keep saying, this is an interchangeable list. So, really, you could have it out of the top 25. You could have it much higher up. It's really a matter of opinion, of course. But when I was putting this list together, I thought, actually, I do remember that song being tipped to do quite well. I think it was in the top 15 of the odds to win at one point. It didn't even make the final. That's a surprise, perhaps. Moving on, number 19. This is a fan favourite, no doubt about it, from the 2011 contest. I think, if anything, in the years that have passed, this song has just grown in popularity. And I think a lot of Eurovision fans now would say that this deserved to be in the final. A lot of people rank it very highly. Another second semi-final entry. The 12th of May 2011 was the date in question. It's Bulgaria, Polly Genova, who would later host Junior Eurovision and do very well at the 2016 contest upon her return. This was Na Inat, which translates roughly as in spite. The performance here had a sort of watery theme to it. Polly was in a sort of white dress. She was along the runway at one point. This is a pretty good song. There's a slight rocky edge to it. I really liked the stage in general in 2011, and I just thought it looked really terrific for this particular performance. And it was in Bulgarian, which is always a plus. 12th place, 48 points. Looking at the split results here, Bulgaria was 12th with the juries and 14th with the public. But I think why I've put it in this list is because a lot of people really do enjoy this track and rank it highly. Maybe not so much at the time, but in the years that have passed, this has become, I would say, a firm fan favourite, perhaps. And yes, in terms of specific marks, Bulgaria did receive a 10 from Cyprus and Italy. So there you go. Polly Genova, a very, very likeable performer indeed, with a smashing voice. Anyway, moving on. Number 18 on this list is a song from 2016, and actually the song that finished last overall in that Stockholm contest at the Globen. And I can sort of understand why, but still, last place is, to me, shocking. Hence why it's in this list. First semi-final in Stockholm, and it was 13th on the night in the running order. Last overall, 24 measly points. Play, Juri Potsman for Estonia. And this song was co-written by Stig Rasta, who had represented Estonia the year before and fared fairly well in Vienna with Elina Borden, of course. Now, this song, I think it's terrific. It's a sort of dark pop song, I guess. It's not really pop. I suppose it's more indie than anything, I suppose you could say. It's going in that direction anyway. Juri, quite young at the time. He's still quite young. He's been in Eesti Laul, the Estonian selection, this year. And he's 27. And he's had several singles. And I'm sure he might be at Eurovision again for Estonia at some point. Maybe as part of a double act, I don't know. Anyway, this song, at the national final, it was staged fairly simply. There wasn't too much going on. In Stockholm, they went for this sort of playing card theme, almost as if Juri was this young croupier in a casino. And he did this magic trick, well, if you can call it a magic trick, with a playing card on stage. And a lot of people commented on how he looked creepily into the camera. So I can sort of understand why this song failed to go through. But last place overall, to me, that is still quite outrageous. If we take a look at the split results, Estonia in the jury vote, a couple of 2s in the public vote, a 12 from Finland, which is not so much of a surprise. He was last with the juries overall and 16th with the public. And I think that's really, really quite unfair. But what's done is done. Moving on, number 17. I've really got to pick up the pace here. Number 17 is my personal winner from the Lisbon 2018 contest. Again, now you can sort of understand why this didn't progress. But at the time, I found it really quite a surprise. It's that really tough semi-final again from the Lisbon contest. It's Belgium, Senek, A Matter of Time. Now, Senek, real name Laura Seneken, is actually making a musical comeback very soon. In fact, I think her new single might already be out. I'll have to check. But anyway, A Matter of Time. People really loved this when it was released. Belgium were on a bit of a hot streak. Top 10 in 2015, 2016 and 2017. And then coming into 2018, some Eurovision fans, including myself, thought, hang on a minute, Belgium are onto something special again here with this sort of dark, almost gothic-y theme that they're going for. Anyway, a matter of time, very Bond theme-esque. Finished 12th with 91 points, very unlucky. The problem here was the staging a little bit. Senek was sort of off the main stage. She was in this sort of semi-see-through dress. Not too sure about that. Her vocals were a little bit shaky as well. Certainly during the rehearsal period, a lot of people online were saying, this is very poor, Belgium's chances are shot to pieces, this isn't going through. And I thought, no, Belgium will make it, my favourite has to go through. Alas, it didn't. And the reason I've put A Matter of Time in this list is because, thinking about it, my personal opinion here, it's a song that surely was too good to miss out. But miss out it did. If we take a look at the split results, Belgium were 9th with the juries and a very poor 16th with the public. In the jury half of the results, Belgium received a high mark of 12 from Bulgaria, okay, and in the public vote, a high mark of 8 from Lithuania. Really terrific song. Haven't actually listened to it too much since the 2018 contest, even though it's my personal winner. But there we are. Moving on. Got to get through it. Number 16 on this list is Ireland 2014 Heartbeat Can Lynn featuring Casey Smith. Now, I don't think either of those acts are really doing anything these days. Ireland were in the very short second semi-final in Copenhagen, and this should have gone through. I mean, heavens above, I really do think there was a place for this. 12th out of 15 countries, 35 points. Casey, absolutely gorgeous. The problem here, again, the staging, you have to say, she was in a sort of golden dress. There was a bit of river dance, I suppose, going on next to her. The backdrop looked absolutely fantastic. This was a sort of Celtic pop song, I suppose. Really nicely done. The song, the staging, a letdown. She needed to be moving about a bit more. If anything, she looked a little bit uncomfortable. So again, it's one of those scenarios where you can sort of understand why it didn't go through, but at the time it was a surprise. If we take a look at the split results, Ireland would have gone through had it been 100% public vote, in 10th place by a very narrow margin, but 14th, second last with the juries. Taking a look at the actual marks, a high mark of 7 from Macedonia for Ireland that particular year. Not much else to say, gotta move on. Number 15, Stop, 2005, Slovenia, Omar Naber. He was there in Kiev. He'd be back in Kiev in 2017. Didn't qualify then either with On My Way. He's been involved in the Slovenian selection many times. If we take a look at the 05 contest, this song, taking a look at the qualifiers, yeah, it was a close run thing, absolutely. But again, there was a place for this in the final. It should have fared a bit better, absolutely. And I'm sure this would have done reasonably well in the final had it got there. The song was performed in Slovene and finished 12th with 69 points. It was song 25. No, it wasn't. It was song 23 out of all of the songs in that very long semi-final. Slovenia received a high mark of 10 from Croatia. And he was in a sort of white t-shirt, black jacket, looked very smart. Great vocals. There was a female singer off to one side who he joined at the end of the performance. It really starts off slow and then becomes this sort of rock number. Terrific stuff. It's one of the strongest songs, arguably, that Slovenia has ever had, and it didn't even make the cut. A great shame. Number 14, this year, Croatia, TikTok, Albina. Now, the first semi-final this year in Rotterdam was very, very tough. Another very difficult semi-final to get out of. Croatia, I think, was seen as a borderline qualifier. Now that the dust has settled on this year's competition, it was song 10 on that Tuesday night, the 18th of May. I think this probably should have gone through. Norway went through in 10th place, Belgium were 9th, and you have to say perhaps the Croatian performance was good enough to go through ahead of both of those countries. You could argue. Albina looked fantastic. She was in this sort of almost sci-fi type outfit. She had male dancers with her. She was on the secondary stage. That semi-transparent LED screen came down. Pink and blue, the main colour schemes. And then towards the end, the LED screen on the main stage was in use. 11th place, 110 points. And what is a bit controversial about this, of course, we all know it now, is that Croatia was in the top 10 with the public and the jury, but still didn't go through because of the way the voting system works. 10 points from the Irish jury, interesting. 12 points from the North Macedonian and Slovenian public. It absolutely should be in this top 25. It's as simple as that. I've watched the performance back many times. I think it's terrific. I think Albina sang very well. The choreography wasn't bad either. I mean, in terms of memorability, with all due respect to Tix and Hooverphonic, and I like the Belgian and Norwegian entries from this year, Croatia stood out more. And it would have been a terrific result for them to get into the final. As such, they missed out. Moving on, number 13, back to the second semi-final, in 2013 in Malta, and this was a fan favourite that ultimately came up short, and a lot of people were very excited about this because it could have been San Marino's first qualification for a Eurovision final. Instead, they finished 11th with 47 points. This was Chrysalide Vola, Chrysalis Fly by Valentina Moneta. This was her second Eurovision entry in a row for San Marino. She'd be back a year later and qualify with a much weaker song in my opinion. This started off slowly and then became this sort of pulsating pop number. She was sort of sitting on stage at one point. She had other people on stage with her as well. There was a red colour scheme. She was in a red dress, if I remember. And the crowd really loved it. It was a very solid performance. Vocals were pretty good too. And, yeah, there was a place for this in the final. Hence why it's in my top 25. It could have been higher, it could have been lower. This list is interchangeable. But San Marino, the fact that they went through a year later, the same performer progressed a year later in Copenhagen with a much blander entry, and this missed out, that's a surprise. Moving on, number 12, Switzerland again. Hello, 2007, that mammoth semi-final in Helsinki. This is DJ Bobo, very successful musician, it must be said, from Switzerland, with Vampires Are Alive. Simply put, this is a very silly song. There's no doubt about it. It's a very silly song. And it was always going to be tough to progress from that semi-final. I mean, 28 nations were involved, heavens above. It was very controversial at the time because every single qualifier was from Eastern Europe, and there was actually booing after the 10th qualifier was announced. Anyway, Switzerland finished 20th with 40 points. The vocals, not brilliant. The staging, they had mannequins on stage, they had candles, they went for this sort of gothic theme, if you've ever seen the movie Blade. I mean, DJ Bobo was sort of the spitting image. And, yeah, I mean, it's a fine song. It's catchy. But the vocals were a letdown, as far as I'm concerned. Nevertheless, this was expected to really do very well. In fact, it was one of the favourites to win at one point. This was before the betting odds sort of became a lot more accurate, I suppose. We don't have the split results, but Switzerland received a mark of 8 from Germany and 10 from Malta. So clearly Vampires were alive in Malta at the time. I've always liked it, and it's in this list because it was a surprise. It really was that it missed out. I think it was expected to do very well. Anyway, number 11. Now this could be a lot higher for a lot of people. It's a song that I don't mind. I appreciate it a lot more these days. It is Telemoveis, Portugal, 2017. 2017? 2019. What am I on about? Conan Osiris. And this was in the first semi-final in Tel Aviv. And people loved this. From the moment he performed it in the national final, Festival de Canção, people were getting very excited about Portugal making the final and doing very well again. Instead, 15th place, 51 points, you have to say, is really disappointing. And a lot of people were very dismayed that Portugal fared so poorly in the end. If we take a look at the split results, the juries absolutely screwed any chance Portugal had of progressing. Last place, 8 points with the juries. Professional musicians here and journalists clearly just didn't get the sound that Conan was going for. This was a very sort of traditional, folky, quirky entry. I really don't know how else to describe it. He was in this very odd green outfit, almost like a bird. He was wearing trainers, I think. He had a dancer with him who at one point just threw himself to the floor. He sang well, and it was a very engaging performance. There was something very regal about it. But clearly it just was over people's heads. It finished 12th with the public, 43 points. If we take a look at the marks, with the juries, a high mark of 3 from Cyprus, with the public, a high mark of 12 from France and Spain. Very interesting indeed. But anyway, Portugal missed out, but it absolutely should be in this list. It could even be a lot higher than 11th. Let me know your thoughts. Moving into the top 10. Yes, now we're getting down to the real surprising non-qualifiers here, I suppose. Blackbird, 2017, Finland, Norma John. This is in the list because, as far as I'm concerned, absolutely this should have been in the final. Finland, yeah. A very maudlin track, very slow, not much going on. Male-female duo, piano, black outfits, this blue watery effect on the screen, which then turned red for the final chorus. 12th place, 92 points. I mean, Cyprus got 164 points. Australia, 160. Finland, 92. I'm sorry, but Finland's performance, yes, it was very simplistic, but I think this absolutely should have gone through ahead of Cyprus, with all due respect, and Australia perhaps as well. Anyway, let's take a look at the results. I mean, this was terrific. You can't fault anything about this. They just copied and pasted what they had from UMK, the national final in Finland, and put it on stage in Kiev. And a lot of people really thought this was going to go through. Maybe not convincingly, but I absolutely thought this was a sure qualifier. 7 points from various countries in the jury vote, and then in the public vote, a high mark of 8 from Sweden, and therefore Norma John were 12th with the juries, 10th with the public. So it was the juries who let this song down, and you would have thought the juries would have appreciated this sound, and the vocals, and the beautiful simplicity of it all. Instead, they said, no Finland, no final for you. I've let my tea go cold again. Oh dear me. Anyway, it's a long video, stick with me, because number 9 is Israel 2014. Heavens above, how did this not qualify? I ask you. This is one of the most baffling non-qualifiers to me. Maybe the vocals could have been a bit better. Maybe people were put off by the way that she delivered this song, if you see what I mean. Anyway, this should have gone through. My God. Anyway, Israel, May Feingold with Same Heart. This was just a very vibrant song. Lots of flashing lights. Yellow was the main colour scheme. May was in this sort of black outfit. She had other musicians with her. It was performed in Hebrew and English. And the chorus, just this massive banger. That's the only way to describe it. It looked fantastic on that stage in Rotterdam. May is now 38 years of age. She was on Kokhav Nolad, a show in Israel. I think she's still making music. Israel's version of Pop Idol, there you go. She was on that in 2009, I believe. Anyway, this finished second last. 19 points. That's outrageous. I just don't get it. I thought it was a really smashing performance. Taking a look at the split results. Last with the juries. 13th with the public. A high mark of 6 from Greece. I just don't get it. It's a really confusing one for me. I don't understand why people didn't gravitate towards this. Loads of people had this ranked in their top 10. It's in my personal top 10. I think it's in my personal top 5 of the 2014 contest. Absolutely baffling. Got to move on. Number 8. This is another song that was really expected to go through without breaking a sweat. But in the end, maybe people just thought that singing in Swahili was not the way to go. It was song 2 in the first semi-final of the 2011 contest in Dusseldorf, Norway. Stella Mwangi, Habba Habba. Now, this was one of the first years in which I paid attention to national finals, and I very much expected this song to win MGP in Norway. Stella is from Kenya originally. She's 34 now. She's tried to represent Norway since, in 2018. And this song, Habba Habba, which I don't know what it roughly translates as, performed in English and Swahili. It roughly translates as Little by Little. This was colourful. It had a sort of African theme to the backdrop as well. It looked great. Stella was in this sort of golden dress, I suppose. She had male and female backing singers with her. The crowd really got into it. She sang well, there was a really good energy to the performance. It's a very, very likeable track. Very summery, very different for Norway. Not the sort of thing you would have expected from a country like that at all. But as I said earlier, it was expected to go through without breaking a sweat, and instead finished 17th out of 19 nations with 30 points. I can only assume its place in the running order and the fact that it got a little bit repetitive. Maybe performing in Swahili as well was its downfall. Taking a look at the split results, Norway was 9th with the public, but 17th with the juries. So the music professionals said, no, we don't want to hear any more of that. A mark of 10 from Iceland was the highest mark for Stella, and I can see her coming back to MGP very soon. I think she's had a pretty solid career since Eurovision, absolutely. And it was a very, very different song that deserved to do a bit better, absolutely. Moving on, number 7, and this is another absolutely baffling non-qualifier. If you can tell me why this song didn't go through, feel free to leave a comment, absolutely. I just don't understand it for the life of me. 2012 now, Baku, second semi-final, and I thought this was going to go through. How on earth did it miss out? It's shocking because it was second last. 17th place, 31 points, performed 9th on the night, Slovenia, Eva Boto Verjamem, and she was 16, I believe, at the time. She's still making music now, she's 25 now. And Verjamem, which I think means I believe, performed in Slovene, underrated as all hell. This is a great Balkan ballad. Really, I don't understand why it didn't go through. She was in this sort of white dress. She had other females in white dresses as well on stage. It builds up nicely. It's quite a rousing, powerful tune. Nothing truly original. But my word, second last? Second last. How did people not gravitate towards this? What was it about this song that people didn't like? From what I remember at the time, people thought quite highly of this. And in the years since, I know people have ranked Slovenia nowhere near the bottom of their personal ranking of all of the songs. I think it's my number 10 of the 2012 contest, so pretty good for Slovenia, it must be said. I don't get it. I really don't get it. Taking a look at the split results, Ava was 16th with the public and 14th with the juries. A high mark of 8 from Croatia. Not a shock. Really surprising though overall. Just don't get it. The top 6, Verona. You knew it was coming. 2017, Estonia. Koitume, who did quite well. Well, I say quite well. I like the song. He finished in mid-table in 1998. He's tried to represent Estonia many times since. And he was joined with Laura, who was part of Sun Tribe in 2005, and she's tried to represent Estonia many times since as well. What am I looking at here? Yes, the Kiev contest a few years ago. Verona was expected to go through. It's as simple as that. But to be honest, they should have sent Kerli. Simple as that. They made a massive mistake in the national final as far as I'm concerned. Spirit Animal would have absolutely cruised through, no doubt about it in my mind. This, on the other hand, felt very bland at the time. There wasn't a whole lot of colour, there wasn't a whole lot of energy. The chemistry between the two of them was quite criticised as well. But anyway, not much else to fault. Her microphone failed at the start. She wasn't very happy about that. But come on, that's a very, very minor thing in the grand scheme of things. Performed 17th on the night in that second semi-final in Kiev, 14th place, 85 points. And the problem here was those juries, second last, 17th with 16 points from the professional juries, 6th with 69 points from the public. Taking a look at the split results, a high mark of 7 from the Israeli jury, and in the public half of the results, 12 from Lithuania, geographical neighbours, of course. Yeah, Verona absolutely needs to be high up on a list like this, because people just were baffled at the time. I remember people saying Denmark should never have gone through, Croatia should never have gone through, even Austria shouldn't have gone through, and Estonia should have gone through instead. I don't mind it. It's not one of Estonia's strongest, but it is what it is. Should have sent Kerli, simple as that as far as I'm concerned. We move into the top 5. My word, this video just goes on and on. This is my winner from 2008. Switzerland again, would you believe it? Era stupendo, it was wonderful. Paolo Meneguzzi. Now, he had performed in Sanremo, the Italian selection, a year or two before this, which I only realised a few years ago myself. Anyway, Belgrade was the host city in 2008, second semi-final. This was one of the favourites to win, hence why it's in this list. A great song, very beautiful. He was in a smart black outfit. There was a guy playing the piano, pretending to play the piano off to one side. Other people on stage as well. A very tall woman, if I recall. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful song. Nothing amazing. Nothing truly spectacular. Nothing we haven't heard before. But you listen to this now, and I think it still holds up today. I really think this should have been in the final. I mean, Croatia went through in 4th place, and Switzerland were 13th. I don't get it. I don't get it. Maybe people were bored by this. Maybe people saw it as very unoriginal. I don't really know. Anyway, 13th place, 47 points. Taking a look at the split results, a high mark of 12 from Malta, 10 from Albania. We don't actually have the specific split results, but there we go. Sweden didn't qualify either, in 12th place, and then did qualify because of the way the voting system worked that year. They went through as the highest ranked jury qualifier that had not already gone through. Switzerland, dearie me, is there a country that has been more underrated over the years than the Swiss? Thankfully, it seems as though they're turning a corner. Top 4 now. Number 4, Sweden 2010. If you've been following my channel for a while, you'll know that this is my favourite Eurovision entry to date. And why it's in this list is simple. Sweden not qualifying, outrageous. I can only imagine that on the streets of Stockholm, after the second semi-final in 2010, we had people in tears. Maybe I'm exaggerating here, but a week of mourning. Maybe I'm still exaggerating. Anyway, Anna Berlindale, very young at the time. She's been in Melfest since, of course, and she's also a doctor, I believe. This Is My Life finished 11th with 62 points. This just wasn't stand out enough. That's the truth of the matter. She was in this sort of champagne-coloured dress, Converse. Everybody had glow sticks. It was very sweet. The performance in the Melfest final at the Globen back in 2010, also terrific. Well worth watching. I just really like this song, and I've always said it. I don't really know why. I think it's quite charming. I think it's very sweet. I think it's staged really beautifully, and I think Anna is just an absolute darling. But other people thought not. In the split results, Sweden were 9th with the public, 11th with the jury. Cyprus went through instead. It was a very close call in the end. A high mark of 12 from Denmark and Norway, 3 from the UK, who was voting in that semi-final as well. I don't have anything else to say. I really love the song. It's still just my all-time favourite. And Sweden missing out. It's just unheard of. Well, can you believe it? Anyway, top 3. Next up is a song that was actually uploaded to the official Eurovision YouTube channel yesterday, I believe. 2006, we go back to the Athens contest, and it is Belgium. Je t'adore, I love you, I adore you, by Kate Ryan. Now, Kate has had a pretty successful career. Let me just load this up here. This was expected to go through. One of the favourites to win. I remember Paddy O'Connell, the British commentator at the time, saying that this was very, very likely to go through. There was a bit of a mishap with a camera angle at one point, just as the pyros kicked in. Maybe that's in the YouTube video, actually. Also, the vocals were maybe a little bit off at times. There was great energy to this. Pink-purple colour scheme. Lots of guys moving around microphone stands. But yeah, this is a great pop song. And arguably it should have gone through. Kate Ryan must be in her 40s now. 41. Born in 1980. Couple of albums. Not since 2012, though. Je t'adore is a great song. 12th place, 69 points. A high mark of 7 from Malta and the Netherlands and Andorra, but really drips and drabs elsewhere. This, again, absolutely should be in this list. It really should, and very high up as well. At the time, it was a real surprise. You might remember the spokesperson for Belgium in the final holding up a cardboard sign that said, "We love Kate Ryan." It was a real shock. The top 2, then. Horeroni, Slovakia 2010, is number 2 on this list. So maybe now you've got an idea as to which song is number 1. I think a lot of people would have it as number 1 as well. Let's go back to 2010, the Oslo competition, semi-final 1. The issue here, I think, was the backing singer and this sort of wailing section in the final third. Never liked that part of the song. They went for this sort of forestry theme, guys with sort of strings and roots and what have you all over them. Christina, absolutely beautiful. Second last. Now, Horeroni is a region of Slovakia, I believe. They haven't competed that often in the past, and as I'm recording this, it's been years since Slovakia were involved. 16th place, 24 points. Taking a look at the split results. 14th with the public and 16th with the juries. Deary, deary, deary me. Taking a look specifically, a high mark of 6 from the Serbians, and that's it really. Other countries, very little indeed. This was a surprise. It's a huge fan favourite. Millions of views online. It's one of the most watched videos on the Eurovision YouTube channel, I believe. And it's still very popular today. It's a catchy song. It's in Slovakian, which is lovely. Christina sang quite well. Really engaging with the camera, if I recall. Don't really understand why this song ultimately failed in the end. I really don't know. I mean, Belarus went through ahead of this. Russia went through ahead of this. I don't know. Maybe it's placed in the running order, but let's not go into details about that. That matters very little in the grand scheme of things. 24 points is a very low mark for a song that is a fan favourite, no doubt about it. So number 1 on the list. You've probably been waiting for this one. I think a lot of people would have this as number 1. It came down to the last qualifier in the first semi-final of the 2016 edition. I remember being in this room, and this was before I was uploading to YouTube, I believe, and I thought, surely it's going to be this particular country, and then Malta's name came up, and I thought, wow, we have had an almighty upset here. It's Greta Salome, Hear Them Calling, Iceland 2016. She had been part of a double act in 2012. That's a terribly underrated song as well in the grand final, never forget. Let's take a look here. I've clicked on the wrong year. But Greta Salome, great singer, violin player as well, got this very beautiful ethereal-like voice. Iceland. At the national final, people really loved it. And then at Eurovision, people thought it was a great performance as well. This is surprising because it didn't even really come close to qualifying. 14th place, 51 points. I mean, that's below Serhat for San Marino. That's below Montenegro. Malta got 209 points. Iceland got 51. Now, I'm not saying Malta shouldn't have gone through, but that's a huge difference there. That's a huge difference. I really don't get it. She had this screen behind her. There was this bird effect at times that sort of burst from her chest and what have you. The song itself is a sort of rousing number. It doesn't build up quite as much as you perhaps like, but it was a very strong performance. I really don't understand why people didn't like this. Lots of people have this ranked very highly. I think it's my number 10 or 11 of the 2016 contest in terms of the split results. Iceland got a high mark of 7 from the San Marino jury, and in the public results, wow, very few points indeed. A high mark of 5 from Sweden and Finland. And therefore Iceland was 13th with the music professionals. That is below Montenegro and below Finland. And in terms of the public half of the results, 13th. That is below San Marino. San Marino had 49, Iceland had 24. I just don't get it. And to this day, it's just looking at the result now. I can't believe Iceland didn't come closer to qualifying. It's a shock, no doubt about it, and as such, number 1 on the list, Iceland 2016, the most shocking, surprising, underrated, outrageous, non-qualifier we've had so far in the history of the Eurovision Song Contest. So I'll just go through 25 to 1 again. My Impossible Dream, Stones, Warrior, Rakbishvilo, You and Me, Lako Yesve, Narinat, Play, A Matter of Time, Heartbeat, Stop, TikTok, Chrysalida Vola, Vampires Are Alive, Telemoveish, Blackbird, Same Heart, Habba Habba, Veriamem, Verona, Era Stupendo, This Is My Life, Je t'adore, Horroroni, and Hear Them Calling. Just missing out, in no particular order, Quero Ser Tua, Portugal 2014 by Susie. Poland 2006 is here as well. Czech Republic 2015, Hope Never Dies, I know that's a fan favourite. Greece 2018 is here, Onir Romu. Hungary 2019, Yotzi Papai, his second entry, that's here. Roxanne from this year is also in the list, but then I thought actually a lot of people didn't think the performance was that amazing, or the rehearsals, so it didn't go into the top 25. Denmark 2007, DQ, Drama Queen, that was expected to do very well. Igranka, which I know is a huge fan favourite for a lot of people. Husi, Nina Zizic, Montenegro 2013, absolutely. That could be in your top 25. If anything, maybe I should have put it in. I don't know. I'm not a fan of it myself. What else have we got here? Switzerland 2017, Apollo, Time Bell. Ghana International 2011, Israel Ding Dong. Yeah, Bulgaria 2012, Love Unlimited, Sophie Marinova. And that's pretty much it. I mean, there's a few others, but I'm quite happy with that 25. It's interchangeable. I'm now going to shut up because I've been talking for 50 minutes. Unbelievable. But anyway, that's it. Let me know your thoughts. I'm really interested. Feel free to make a list of your own. Tag me on social media. Links in the description to my social media pages. Hopefully the quality of this video wasn't too bad. And I'll be back soon with another Eurovision related video. As I'm recording this, I believe the cities that want to host next year's competition in Italy have to have submitted their bid books to the EBU today. So I'm sure we'll be getting some news soon. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.